Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Successful Minds with Patricia Barnowski-Schneider is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to Successful Minds. I'm your host, Patty Baranowski-Schneider. Today I'm joined by David Fradin, author and consultant on product success. So welcome, David. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I have a company called Spice Catalyst, and we teach product marketing and product management. I prefer to call it product success, around the 5 keys of product success that we've identified. And my largest client is Cisco, and we've trained about half of all the product managers at Cisco worldwide.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Cisco's a huge company. Nice. So can you share a bit about your journey into product management and development? Like what initially inspired you to pursue this career path?
Well, I ended first, I have a degree in interdisciplinary engineering from the University of Michigan, which I often describe as a little of everything and a lot of nothing. I was inspired by a grant that the engineering school got from the National Science Foundation to develop technically trained managers, which turned out to be exactly what a product manager is. It's someone that's technical, but also knows how to manage. Later in my career, Hewlett-Packard recruited me to help site new facilities around the country because of my background as an environmental mediator.
Okay.
And I noticed that having had word processing over the years at the organizations I was with previously and nonprofits that I had started, I was surprised that the corporate PR department at HP did not have word processing. So I found that an internal group had written a software program called Slate, which is a word processor that ran on the HP 3000 mini computers, and you accessed it through a terminal. So I introduced that product to the corporate PR department, which, by the way, at the time was the only department in the entire company that knew how to type.
Wow.
We were all journalists. And that enabled me to learn how to do product management on an internal role, and I've been able to move over to Information Networks division to be a product manager there. So one of the nice things about HP is you can move laterally.
Yeah.
Then a year or so later, Apple came calling, and they said they wanted me to bring their new hard disk drive, the first hard disk drive on a computer, a personal computer, to market. And they said it was really cheap. It was only $3,500 and an enormous amount of space. It was five megabytes in size, and no one could believe they would ever fill up 5 megabytes. And we just filled up 5 megabytes with my last sentence in terms
exactly.
So then they noticed that I knew how to manage, and they asked me to become the group product manager for the Apple III product line, which was Apple's business computer, one of the 2 profitable product lines that we had at the time, Apple II and the Apple III. And a few months later, Steve Jobs convinced the executive committee to cancel the product line so that he could occupy that area of the market that the Apple III was in, which was the business and office market with his beloved Macintosh. So I got called into the president's office, John Scully, and he's sitting at the end of the table, and he says he's looking at a SuperCalc spreadsheet which runs on an Apple III. He says, Dave, we got a problem. We got $20 million in piece parts, which would probably be about $200 or $300 million today, spread in our manufacturing facilities for the Apple III in Singapore, Cork, Ireland, and in Dallas. What should we do about it? And I said, what do you mean we, paleface? And he didn't laugh. So I had to explain the joke to him that we had a television show in the 50s and the movies, I think even into the 80s, of the Lone Ranger who always did good, rode a white horse called Trigger, had one silver bullet in his belt, and had an Indian sidekick named Tonto. When I tell the story to Indians in India or the United States, I have to say it's an American Indian sidekick.
Yeah. Be politically correct.
10,000 yelling, screaming Indians. And Lone Ranger turns to Tonto and says, Tonto, we're surrounded by 10,000 yelling, screaming Indians, and all they want to do is scalp us. Tonto says, what do you mean we, paleface?
Yeah, I think I would need the explanation if you told me that too.
And it was a standard joke back in the 60s and 70s. So he said, well, what should we do? And I said, well, I just tried to do a promotion to help drive sales of the Apple III. And I took a part-time job when I joined Apple at a retail Apple dealership just to see what was going on between customers walking in and the salespeople. And I said, well, I have to take my promotion to a group in my division who takes it to another group in corporate, who takes it to another group in corporate, who takes it to another group in corporate, who takes it then to the principals of the manufacturer's reps, which we used. We didn't have our own sales force at the time. We used manufacturing reps, who then take it to the manufacturer reps, salespeople, who then take it to the principal of the dealer, who then takes it to the salespeople on the floor. I said,
Big chain of command.
I'm 8 levels away from affecting a transaction. And I told him I work part-time on evenings and weekends at a computer dealership just to see what's happening there. And I said, that information never got to me as a salesperson. So he said, what should we do? I said, well, if you give me the authority commensurate with the responsibility, we'll go out there and sell these things. And we had about 25,000 in inventory. And he said, okay, make me a proposal. So I told him the story of the IBM PC where the senior sales force opposed it because they thought it would cannibalize their large commission checks. So they moved the IBM PC development out of Schenectady, New York, which was where IBM's headquarters were at the time, to Boca Raton, Florida, as far away in the United States as they could possibly get without changing time zones. And I told him this he called the soul of a new machine, which was they had Alpha General, I think it was, were trying to build a new or design and build a new mini computer. So they couldn't in the corporate offices up in Boston, so they moved them to Raleigh-Durham Research Triangle. And I told him the story of my friend Kelly Johnson, who headed up the Kelly's Skunk Works for Lockheed. And I became friends with Kelly when he and I were working on trying to get Congress to fund an American supersonic transport. And Lockheed set him up as an independent business group down in the desert. And he was able to develop advanced aircraft like the XR-71, the X-1, the X-15 in 18 months, while the rest of Lockheed would take 7 years.
Wow.
And so he says, yeah, I agree with you. When I was president of Pepsi USA, living in north of New York City, my next door neighbor was the president of Xerox. And they met at a cocktail party, and Scully asked the president of Xerox, how come Xerox doesn't have a personal computer? And I thought Scully was about to then say that the guy from Xerox says, well, that's because Xerox never does anything original. But He said, no, we put 100 of our best engineers on building a personal copier. Canon put 10 on it, and Canon is shipping, and we won't ship for another year.
Wow.
So Scully was fully in support of the notion of an independent business unit.
Okay. Well, you
So
definitely have a lot of
make me a
names.
proposal. Make a proposal, and I gathered information from about 80 people throughout Apple. We put together a core group of 7 to 12 people. We wrote an 80-page business plan, and we presented the business plan to the executive committee on July 15th, 1983, a day that will live in infamy, at least in my mind. And the highlight of the meeting was after I had outlined 15 or 5 options for the product line. And one of them was shut the product line down right now, which is what Steve wanted to happen. Or I advocated that even with all the MBAs that Apple had, we can't predict what the market's going to do. The market will tell us what they're going to do.
That's true.
So Floyd Quamey, who was sitting in the front of the room, he was the VP of marketing and sales at Apple at the time. He later became a very successful venture capitalist and was a technology advisor to George Bush, President George Bush. Floyd turns to me and he says, "Okay, Dave, if we pick the option of shutting down the product line or their option letting the market decide, and a dealer called you, what would you tell them?" I said, well, if you let the market decide, I'll tell the dealer that so long as people are buying and they're selling Apple IIIs, we'll continue to support it, enhance it, manufacture it, market it, and so forth. But if you decide not to let the product line continue, I'll give the dealer your phone number, Floyd. Explain it to him. And the reason for that is that Apple had a set of values, and we had compared, in addition to the balance sheet, the profit and loss statement, against each of the options. We compared it to Apple values, which included, among other things, empathy for the customer, achievement, aggressiveness, positive social contribution, individual performance, team spirit, innovation, vision, individual growth, reward, quality, excellence, and good management. So shutting down the product line arbitrarily because a bunch of MBAs didn't think there was any market for it, in contrast to Apple values, and the dealers would be very upset. We had 1,800 dealers and they had Apple IIIs in inventory, and they'll end up eating it. So about a week later, I got a call from from Ken Zerbe, who was the former CFO and general manager of Europe, had just come back from Europe, and he said, Scully asked me to ask you if you'd like to run the Apple III business unit. It'll be an independent business unit. We won't call you general manager. We'll call you the business unit manager, or BUM for short.
Ah, they're calling you a bum. Okay.
Gave me $4 million, 17 people. We went out and sold 25,000 Apple IIIs in 11 months. Made about $600 million in profit, enough to help fund the development of the Macintosh and keep about 1,000 to 1,500 highly paid Apple people still employed at Apple.
Wow, that's amazing.
6 months after I shut down the product line, because I couldn't get support from management anymore. I don't know why they wanted to kill their young. About 1,000 to 1,500 Apple employees got laid off, including Steve Jobs, because his Mac sales in January of 1985 dropped to 4, and he decimated the Lisa division when he took over management of that. And the board said, okay, Steve, go find something else to do.
Wow, what a shame. It is crazy where I've worked for other companies where they either do a perception study or they just have undercover people go and ask people anonymously it's amazing what you think and what they think are totally different. It's not about what the company wants, it's about who you're serving. What do they want? And people seem to just miss that memo all the time, which is a shame. But Steve did good, so he's carried on his legacy, and that's a good thing.
Well, I developed that philosophy of letting the market decide.
Yeah.
When I was in engineering at Michigan, the 3 astronauts, I think it was the Apollo 16 launch, was Dave Scott, and I forget the other guys' names, were all from University of Michigan, aerospace engineering. So the school leased chartered a 707 and flew us all down from Ann Arbor to Cape, I guess it was called Cape Kennedy at the time. And after the launch, they took us by bus to Disney World, which was under construction. And a massive engineering job because the swamps around, what was that, south of Orlando is brackish and brown. And they had to divert all the water that would normally flow through the site around the site so they could put in clean water because nobody wants to sit in a hotel in a bunch of brackish water looking outside. And one of my fellow engineering students asked the chief Imagineer, they don't call them engineers at Disney, they're called Imagineers.
Of course they do.
What, how did you decide where to put the sidewalks? And the chief Imagineer says, yeah, that's a really good question. I thought it was kind of stupid, but he said, no, that's a really good question. The 100 Imagineers here on Disney World, we argued about that for 3 days. And then finally, one Imagineer, who's a new guy, put his hand up. He says, I don't think we should put in any sidewalks. And that was a blasphemy for a major amusement park to not have any sidewalks. He says, we're not smart enough to know where people are going to walk. So let's just plant grass everywhere. And after a few weeks, go out and look as to where the grass paths have been beaten down by people walking on it. And that's where we'll put a sidewalk in. And then when I was writing my book a few years ago called Building Insanely Great Products, I told that story in the book. And I looked up pictures of Disney World, and there's no grass anywhere anymore. They've paved everything over.
Everybody's everywhere now.
Yeah. And then I had a year or so later, I went to Girona, Spain, which is where El Cellar del Can Roca is, which at the time was the second best restaurant in the world. And I was on my way to Botswana to teach the Botswanian telecommunications company product management. And I always wanted to go to Botswana to figure out how they got north of South Africa. And I came out of my hotel room to go to the restaurant, and there was a sidewalk that went straight ahead and then followed the river. But next to the creek, it was a worn path. Everyone was cutting the corner and walking where there was no sidewalk. Convinced me again that we got to let the market decide if they want your product or your service.
That's
and that will be based upon whether or not your product or service helps people do what they want to get done.
Yeah, it's all about who you're serving. And you mentioned your book. So the book, Building Insanely Great Products, it's garnered a lot of attention. So what are the key principles outlined in the book, and how can they be applied in today's fast-paced market?
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus, what I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
Well, I use a lot of examples and focus on the 5 keys to product success, which happens to be a mnemonic for the first word of my company's name called SPICE, for Spice Catalyst. And the S stands for strategy. That's the product market strategy that you should write before you even start development. And that outlines in 32 sections everything from your market research, your competitive research, your product positioning, your value proposition, your training, sales and support and marketing plans, all compose the product market strategy. And the second part of the 5 keys is the P for process. You need to use repeatable processes that have become mature. Otherwise, you'll just continue to have product failures. The I is to have the information necessary to make informed decisions about your product or your service. The C is the most important thing, and that's understanding your customer. And the original philosophy was came out of some books from a Harvard professor called outcome-based innovation. And that was improved upon by Tony Ulrich of Synergym in his book, Jobs to be Done. But I felt the job was too big of a thing, and it needs to be broken down to something more granular, like what is it that people want to do? When do they want to do it? Why do they want to do it? How do they want to do it? What's standing in their way? How important is getting that thing done? And how satisfied are they with their current solution? And the reason for that is you can't go out, as Henry Ford and as Steve Jobs have said, and ask people what they want or what they need, because in order to know what you want and know what you need, you have to not only define the problem of what people want to do, but you also have to come up with a solution. And in fact, allegedly, there's a story that Henry Ford went out in Dearborn, Michigan, not far from where I grew up in Detroit, and he asked people if they would like to have a car. And they said, no, I don't want a car. I just want a faster horse. Well, if you'd gone out and observed what people were doing, beating their horses to death with whips in order to go faster, he would understand. Or if he had big data or analytics or artificial intelligence available to him to try to figure out what it is that people want, and he put car in the search engine to see how many people were searching for cars for that keyword. If the internet existed back there, he would come back and say, nobody's searching for a car. So therefore, there is no market for a car. Therefore, all the traffic and all these parking lots and garages that we see are an illusion. They don't really exist because nobody really wants a car.
It is true, though. I mean, any business, you have to understand, what do people need? What are the pain points? How can you fix it? How would you fix it? I mean, it's not just I have an idea, it should be great and everybody will want it. There's a process to it. So that all makes total sense. Yeah.
It also makes silliness in the Facebook's fail fast, break things and fail fast approach. They broke so many things that they just agreed to $1.4 billion settlement with the state of Texas for letting other people see the images of the people on Facebook, which broke their privacy policy and is against the law in the state of Texas. And 44 other attorney generals in 44 other states have also sued Facebook over that same thing. I think it was Ohio they paid $500,000 out to for the same, no, $500 million to for the same activity.
Wow.
That's why I always say, put together your product market strategy and do what I call ready, aim, fire, as opposed to some venture capitalists and angel investors here where I'm at in Silicon Valley. That's my condo in Maui. It's a vacation rental that you see in the background, which I thought would be a lot better than
Nice.
my messy office.
Oh, I'm sure it's fine.
So a lot of them say ready, fire, aim, which is part of the disaster of not being successful for your product or your service. And then the E in SPICE stands for make sure your employees or your staff or your consultants have all of the 130 competencies or skill sets required in order to have a successful product.
Very good. It makes sense. Now, I guess, can you tell us a little bit more about your professional development company? Like, what specific services do you offer and what sets you apart from others in the industry?
Well, I've got over 50 years of experience, 75 different hardware, software products and services I've brought to market. And what we consult on helping put together the product market strategy, put together efficient processes, gather the information necessary to make decisions, go out and research what it is that their potential customers and their target market wants to do. And we also provide the training for those 130 skill sets or competencies that I mentioned earlier.
Wow.
We do this worldwide. I have trainers. One of them is a former client of mine. This is a former vice president of Nixdorf Diebold, the ATM machines. And the other professor is a fellow professor with me at Manipal University in India. And also Wiley has published a little book of mine called Successful Product Design and Management Toolkit. It's only 796 pages long, and it covers all of the things I just mentioned in great depth, along with examples and exercises. And it's used at IIM Lucknow, which is a prestigious business school in India, and also at Lovely Professional University. And over 1,000 executives have gone through the course, which is based upon my book, Product Successful Product Design and Management Toolkit.
Wow.
That book and my other books, including Building and Sailing Grade Products, are available on Amazon worldwide, including some in foreign languages.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Now, you tell us your experience in 11 startups. What advice do you give to entrepreneurs looking to build successful products from the ground up?
Start with your product market strategy. Take 6 months and write it out. And if you figure out who your customer is and what they want to do, you're able to use that to project how much money you're going to make in terms of forecasting the market and your sales from the bottom up rather than top down.
Yeah.
So then when you go out and try to raise venture capital or angel investment, you can prove that they will get their money back in spades if you've got the numbers and you've got the research to back it up.
Right. Makes sense. Put in the legwork initially because so many people just branch out and nobody wants to, give me money. I don't understand. It's great, but you haven't done the legwork to say, well, everybody wants to know, well, I'll give you money, but what's in it for me? I don't want to risk everything. You have to do that legwork. So it makes sense.
Well, back in 2015, there were about 7,000 startups in India funded by India's venture capitalists and angel investors. Almost all of them went out of business because they did the ready, fire, aim approach of the thinking that that would help them become successful. They usually ran out of money. One example I give is a product that was developed there that was based on texting. And he wanted me to help him bring the product to market in the United States. Well, at the time, texting in India was free. Texting in the United States was 50 cents a text. And it wasn't going to work because of that. But since he had not done his product market strategy, he didn't realize that there was some geographical differences in the market, which would make his product unsuccessful in the United States. So I turned him down in terms of that opportunity.
Right.
And he went out of business about a year later.
Wow. I guess, how have you seen the field of product management evolve over the years? Like, what emerging trends do you see, or what do you think will shape the future?
Well, it started in 1932 at Procter & Gamble. It was called brand management. And then the founders of HP, Bill Hewitt, Dave Packard, and others, Marty Oliver, adopted it and called it product management in 1938. First thing I think ought to occur is you ought to change the name from product management to product success manager. And the reason being is typically if I go to a cocktail party and there's a nice looking lady there and I'm talking to her, occasionally they say, "What do you do?" And I say, "Well, I'm a product manager. I help put together the product market strategy, which consists of identifying who the target market is, the personas we're going to target, how big the market is, forecasting, sales plan, marketing plan, support service plan, the market research that we need to do, the competitive research, the product positioning." And usually before I get through even half of that, she'll turn and walk away. So I have on my website a suggested memo you can send to your boss. If you're a product manager, you send it to your boss and say, "Boss, can I change my title to product success manager?" Because then if I go to a party and there's a nice looking lady there and she asks me what I do, I can say I'm a product success manager. She'll know instantly what I'm responsible for. I said, therefore, I can get married and have 2.1 kids. P.S. If you let me change my title to product success manager, you could be the VP of product success, and I'll invite you to my wedding.
How'd that go?
So I told that story to a room of about 100 Samsung product managers and engineers in Bangalore back in 2018. And the vice president came up to me afterwards. He says, "I've had 6 of my guys, my
Send me memos."
yeah, wanting to know if they could change their title to product success manager. And I said, "Well, what did you say?" He says, I told him we can't because the title is dictated to us from South Korea. I said, "The people in South Korea don't have to know that. Just print out the cards."
Yeah. The chain of command can be so insane sometimes.
So that's my campaign, is to get everyone to call it product success manager. The other thing that's changing is a product manager is working inbound and outbound, working inside and outside the company and the product. But in order to focus on the operational aspects of it, a new field has formed over the last 10 years called product operations, which just does the operations that frees up the product manager and the product marketing manager to be strategic rather than tactical, because it's kind of hard to do operate strategically when you got to put out a fire.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, speaking of success, though, can you share a success story from your career that stands out to you, where your strategies made a significant impact on a product success?
I described the Apple III as one of those. After I left Apple, went to work for a company called First Byte down in LA. And we had a text-to-speech program where whatever you type into the Macintosh, the computer would speak it back to you in a robotic tone. And it had no useful purpose whatsoever. I tried to get people to read spreadsheets back to them for proofreading and stuff like that. And people didn't want to do that. But I sold $1.4 million worth of this. I think it was like an $80 software product.
Wow.
I researched who bought them and what they used it for. Is usually they would run it on their Macintosh, put it on the kitchen table during a party, and people would take turns typing in swear words just to see what the computer would say. So it's more of a game, more of a toy than anything else. But because I had connections to these 1,800 dealers around the world from my experience with them as the business unit manager for the Apple III, I was able to persuade them to buy this product and sell it to their customers.
Hey, for that kind of money, it's obviously successful, so even if it's just a party favor. Now, what advice would you give to someone aspiring to become a successful product manager? And are there any essential skills or mindsets that they have to cultivate?
Well, they have to do all the things that I described earlier in terms of the 5 keys to product success. I recommend they get my books, take some of my courses, which are all on my website, spicecannels.com. They're available online through Udemy. The links and the syllabuses for that are on my website.
Okay.
And then try to put together a PowerPoint presentation of an actual product market strategy for a particular product or service. And then when you go out for an interview to be a product manager, the number one thing a problem that I had when I wanted to hire a product manager is, did they know how to do the job? Most product managers get trained on the job, and it takes them a year or two before they become effective. But if you could show that product market strategy to a prospective hiring manager, they'll see that you know how to do the job, and chances of you getting hired is very good. And along with that, try to get an internship at a company, ideally for pay. If not, do it for free in order to gain some on-the-job experience.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And, you never know who knows somebody. So it's always good to just network within the field that you want to, aspire in. So that's good. I mean,
the other bit of advice I would say is get on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, and then ask to become a connection to other product managers, directors, and VPs of product management at different companies around the world, and then ask them if they could give you some advice. And typically, if you ask someone for a job, they say, no, I don't have a job. But if you ask them for advice, everybody loves to give advice. And they'll advise you on your career. Sometimes those advice calls are actually interviews without disguised as an advice call. And some people have gotten jobs just doing these advice interviews as a result of that.
Oh, very nice. I mean, it's always good to talk to people where you want to be anyway. It kind of gives you a little sense of, is this the right path? Is this what I want to do? And I like it's a little sneak interview. Now, anything else you want to talk about that I didn't cover? Like, I guess, we'll post your books, but, tell them about your books. And I didn't realize your course is on Udemy. That's actually really cool.
No, nothing else. Just go to my website, connect with me on LinkedIn, and have success.
Okay, awesome. So how could people get a hold of you or learn more about you?
Best go to my website, spicecatalyst, one word, .com.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Again, that was David Fradin. So thanks for listening to Successful Minds with Patty B. Never miss an episode by subscribing to the channel. So thank you again.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thank you for listening to Successful Minds with your host, Patricia Barnowski-Schneider. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God. It's beautiful.